There are a few points in One Piece where the story's foundation trembles. Marineford is one of them. The war wasn't just a battle between pirates and marines. It was a controlled detonation meant to reset the balance of the world. When Ace dies, it's tragedy, but when Whitebeard dies, it's revolution. Both events happen together, creating the age of chaos we know as the post-Marineford era. But if Ace lives, even if just Ace, that balance doesn't shatter the same way. Let's start with the key divergence. At Marineford, Ace's death happens because he shields Luffy from Akainu's magma fist. So the first domino changes if something or someone interrupts that strike. Maybe it's Aokiji freezing Akainu mid-attack in a moment of conflict. Maybe it's Marco throwing himself in the way. Or perhaps Luffy unleashes his latent conqueror's haki at the exact second before the blow lands. The exact cause isn't crucial. The effect is. Ace survives, badly wounded, but alive. That survival forces Whitebeard's commanders to shift focus. Instead of a desperate retreat, the remnants rally to extract Ace. Whitebeard, instead of sacrificing himself to hold the line, sees that his son has lived, and that changes everything. Whitebeard doesn't die standing. He's pulled back by Marco, Jozu, and Vista, bleeding but alive enough to escape. The Whitebeard pirates manage an incomplete withdrawal. Marineford is left in chaos. The Marines win, but without the iconic death of Whitebeard and Ace, the world doesn't view it as an absolute victory. It's a stalemate. And in One Piece, stalemates are dangerous because they breed uncertainty. The first real ripple lands here. In canon, Blackbeard uses Whitebeard's death to steal the Guru Guru no Mi, catapulting himself from obscure warlord to Yonko in a matter of days. But with Whitebeard alive, that plan collapses instantly. Blackbeard can't approach Marineford in the aftermath, not when Sengoku and Garp are still standing, not when Whitebeard's crew is retreating in one piece. So, Teach retreats. The Guru Guru fruit remains with Whitebeard, who still commands enough respect to maintain Yonko's status, even if his health is deteriorating. This change cascades through the entire New World. No Blackbeard pirates versus Whitebeard remnants war. No sudden collapse of Whitebeard's territory. No power vacuum for Kaido and Big Mom to exploit. Instead, the New World's balance of power freezes. The Marines claim a moral victory, but the Yonko structure doesn't shift. The Age of Upheaval, the Great Pirate Era 2.0 that follows Marineford, never really begins. Luffy's character shifts in ways that are subtle but fundamental. In canon, Ace's death is the emotional collapse that pushes Luffy to train, to become someone strong enough to protect those he loves. It's trauma, pure and simple. But if Ace lives, that collapse never comes. Luffy is still defeated, brutally, publicly, and undeniably, but he doesn't lose his brother. So instead of retreating to Amazon Lily in despair, Luffy's motivation becomes something closer to defiance. He doesn't want to disappear and rebuild. He wants to get back out there, to stand beside his brother, not behind him. This would shorten the Straw Hat separation. Rayleigh might still appear, recognizing the need for growth, but the 2-year time skip might never happen in the same form. Instead, we get a 6-month recovery and accelerated training arc similar to Goku post-Namek, urgent, fueled by survival and purpose, not mourning. Ace would recover during this same period, and the two brothers would reunite far sooner. That reunion shifts the emotional tone of the New World entirely. Whitebeard's survival, even for a short period, becomes the biggest destabilizing force. Knowing his body can't last, Whitebeard starts preparing succession in a deliberate, organized way. Instead of the posthumous scramble we saw in canon, Whitebeard names Ace his successor directly, publicly, in front of the entire crew. That declaration echoes across the seas. The Whitebeard pirates are united, their territories protected, and their new captain carries the bloodline of the Pirate King. The symbol of Fire Fist Ace isn't just a man, it's a continuation of history. This cements Ace as the 5th pillar of the Yonko structure. Kaido, Big Mom, Shanks, Whitebeard, and Ace, his successor in training. The Marines can't push forward because the loss at Marineford was too costly. Akainu's reputation suffers, his ideological brutality is questioned. The world government tightens censorship, and Sengoku retires earlier, but under pressure rather than triumph. Without Blackbeard's rise, the domino effect leading to Punk Hazard and Dressrosa shifts dramatically. Doflamingo remains active, but he never loses control of the underworld because Kaido doesn't need to accelerate his smile production. There's no competing superpower threatening Yonko balance. Law's plan to dethrone Doflamingo fails to gain momentum, and without Luffy's alliance, Dressrosa stays under Don Quixote control. Caesar Clown continues his research unchecked. The world government quietly monitors this, using Doflamingo as a stabilizing underworld broker rather than a liability. Meanwhile, Ace, as Whitebeard's heir, begins expanding his authority. He reclaims territories lost during Marineford and starts uniting smaller pirate crews under a new banner, the new Whitebeard fleet. And in doing so, he draws attention from someone else, Monkey D. Dragon. Ace surviving changes the Revolutionary Army's tempo. In canon, Sabo only regains his memories after Ace's death. Here, that trigger never happens, meaning Sabo stays dormant longer. He continues his revolutionary work, unaware his brother is even alive. But once rumors spread that Ace is the new Whitebeard, Dragon takes notice. To Dragon, Ace is dangerous, not because he's evil, but because he unites people outside of the government's control. He's charismatic, idealistic, and born of Gold D. Rogers' bloodline, a natural leader who could rival the revolutionaries in influence. This creates one of the most interesting Cold Wars in One Piece, Dragon watching Ace from the shadows, gauging whether to ally with him or preemptively undermine him. The Revolutionary Army, once a background entity, now becomes a third power block moving against both Marines and Yonko, and Ace stands at the intersection of all three. Without the 2-year time skip, the Straw Hats enter the New World underdeveloped but still ambitious. They're forced to grow through direct conflict rather than preparation. Luffy would likely seek out Ace early on, pulling the crew into Whitebeard territory for protection and guidance. Ace, being the responsible older brother, would train Luffy directly, perhaps even introducing him to Haki in a more structured way. This means the Straw Hats' growth curve is steeper but messier. They'd survive not because they're ready, but because Ace shields them from total annihilation. This turns the Pirate King journey into something more familial and intertwined. Luffy isn't a lone upstart anymore, he's part of a dynasty. That might sound empowering, but it actually hinders his dream, because as long as Ace stands tall, Luffy's pursuit of the Pirate King title becomes symbolic rather than literal. The world sees Ace as Roger's true heir, not Luffy, and that tension between brothers becomes the emotional heart of the alternate timeline. Blackbeard doesn't disappear, he's patient. Denied the Guda Guda fruit, he returns to the shadows, hunting for another power that could rival it. Maybe he finds Uranus. Maybe he infiltrates Impel Down again for new crewmates. Either way, he resurfaces years later, stronger, more calculating, and with a grudge specifically against Ace. Their rivalry becomes personal, not just a battle of ideology, but of destiny. Both men born under Whitebeard's flag, both vying for the future of piracy. When Blackbeard resurfaces, it's not as a Yonko replacement, it's as a revolutionary disruptor, and his first target, the man who lived the life he tried to steal, Porcus D. Ace. Without Luffy's intervention, because Luffy never allies with Law or topples Doflamingo, Wano remains isolated for longer. Kaido still rules, but without the Smile collapse or Luffy's rise, his grip remains unchallenged. Oden's dream of open borders stays dormant, and Momonosuke's rebellion fails in secret. The samurai are scattered, the scabbards never reunite, and Wano slowly decays into myth. Ironically, Ace's survival delays Wano's liberation indefinitely. The ripple effect of saving one brother blinds the world to another tragedy. Eventually, the tides converge. The Marines, under Sakazuki's absolute justice, push for one last campaign. Not against pirates in general, but specifically against the Roger bloodline. They know the truth now. Gold D. Roger's son lives, and the world won't stay quiet forever. The Revolutionary Army rises simultaneously, having lost patience with stagnation. And from the abyss, Blackbeard returns, his crew enhanced, his darkness deeper than before. 3 storms collide at once. The Marines, led by Akainu's vengeance, the Revolutionaries, driven by Dragon's ideology, and Ace's new Whitebeard fleet, fighting to protect freedom on the seas. The war that follows isn't about treasure, it's about inheritance. The blood of Roger, the will of Whitebeard, the ideology of Dragon, all converge through 2 brothers who embody opposite paths to freedom. Ace, the protector, Luffy, the dreamer. And in this timeline, the end isn't marked by death, but by succession. Ace lives long enough to see Luffy surpass him, not in fame, but in faith. He realizes that Roger's legacy was never about bloodline or power. It was about the choice to chase the horizon, no matter what. In the end, Ace retires from piracy, taking his father's place as guardian of the seas, while Luffy sails forward, toward Raftel, and toward the truth of the Void Century. If Ace never died, the world would be safer, calmer, more stable, but less revolutionary. His death was the spark that ignited the new era. His survival would have prolonged the old one. Marineford's tragedy was necessary for the dream to evolve beyond one family, one crew, or one ideology. Ace's life, though noble, would have anchored the seas in nostalgia. In saving him, Luffy might have doomed the age of freedom itself. And that's the irony of One Piece. Sometimes, the world only moves forward through loss.
Never go back, never turn my back, my brody. Nah, that's my royalty. All this water on that when bitch pull up, she fuck around, might need floaty.